Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the last session of Python for Engineers short-term training program. And I hope you might have enjoyed all the 32 hours of sessions which we have traveled together till today. And today we are here to witness something which is available in Python exclusively for data science related projects. It can be the topics which I am going to discuss today will be applicable for machine learning, artificial intelligence, data science, neural networks, deep learning, convolutional neural networks, etc. So the topic which I have chosen today is about the fundamentals that are required to start any data science project. The fundamentals that are required to start any data science project. Now, today we will also try to understand about the basic foundations of how to create a web application using Django. Yes, in last session, right, that is yesterday, we understood with a case study also a simple web service to a case study where we are able to enter the data into the database through the HTML page and at the same time retrieve the data from the database through the Flask application onto the HTML page which we can view from the web browser. Today, I will try to introduce for maximum half an hour, right? It is not possible to cover everything about Django. So for half an hour time, I will try to exclusively cover how to create a simple web service using Django. And then I will switch on to the topic of data handling using Python, which is the basic requirement for any data science project, ML, AI, or other domains which I already mentioned. So let us quickly move on to the session. I have shared my screen and I believe that you are able to hear to me and you are able to watch the screen clearly. Let me go to the directory where we are having all the programs for this particular session. Let me tell you the fundamentals of Django, how the Django web framework is built on. Okay, so for that, let me start annotating web application development fundamentals using Django. Django web framework. Okay. Now, what is the difference? Yesterday, one of the participants asked, I think Harish, if I am not wrong, what is the fundamental difference between a Flask and Django? Right. Now, let us discuss about the Django framework. Then, by default, you will come to understand about the differences. Django is a web application framework which is built upon MVT pattern. You know, you might have listened about design patterns in Java. For example, model view controller design pattern. In case if you are very much new, if any non-CSE student is there who never heard about design patterns, you need not worry. Django is a web application framework built on MVT pattern. So what is M? M stands for model, V stands for view, and T stands for templates. So Django is made upon this particular pattern of model view template. Then what is a model? Model covers the the database aspect of the web application. For example, if you want to create any table and all, you need to define models. Here model is basically an entity which gives you the support of database. The support of database. It's very simple to understand. So model covers the database aspect. Then what template will cover? What is a template? Basically, templates are HTML files through which the end user of the web application can communicate. We already understood templates in Flask yesterday, right? Similarly, you have templates. Okay, in a template, basically you will be creating the HTML files through which the end user is going to communicate. Then what is a view? Views are the actual Python programs where the logic is written for the web application. So to understand in a very simple terminology, you can consider that templates is the end user interface between the web application framework and the user of the web application. Then model is the background of the database aspect. That means if you want to store any data, then you need to define some models. Then what is a view? View is actual logic, what you are writing for that particular web service or to support the web application. Yesterday we did write an app.py program in the case study. So here they are termed as views. Here view means it's basically the Python program which is talking to a model and a template. So you can say that end user communicates from the templates. Templates will be basically the view will be in between the template and the database. Basically, database we say it as a model. I hope everybody understood. End user can see only templates. The templates are being actually called by the view itself. The Python logic only will show the template. If there is no Python logic, the template will never be launched. And model also will be in the background. So what an end user can see is a template, and who actually handles everything, the template and the model, the view. View can be a single Python program. View can be multiple Python programs, which handles your web services for the web application. Similarly, model can have one table. Model can have multiple tables. If your application is very simple, like yesterday we created a application where the data entry is being stored in the database, then there is only one table. Similarly, you can have multiple HTML files also. Multiple HTML files also. So view is the main aspect here which controls the entire web application. Okay. So let me ask, in case if you have any doubt with respect to what is an MVT pattern which the Django web application framework is built upon. Let me know in case if you have any doubt. Now, Django is a more sophisticated web application framework. I'm not here to compare Flask and Django, but most likely people whom I know, my friends, right? They are working in different companies, and they are actually building the projects based on Django Web Application Framework. Django Web Application Framework is a huge framework which is little difficult in the initial stages to understand. Why? Because Flask is very straightforward. You can just create your Python program and HTML file and start executing it. But Django has a lot of procedures that you have to follow. And there will be many files which are basically called as configuration files. Okay, so Django may be little difficult to start your learning phase. During your learning, you may feel, Flask was very simple. Simply write a Python program and give one HTML file and start executing the web app. Okay, the procedure in Django is little bit lengthier. Why it is lengthier? Why? Because Django is actually made for supporting medium to complex web application development. Okay, it can be for a simple web application also. Today I am going to show you a small web application that is displaying message. Okay, because we don't have much time. So if there is any chance provided little later on, definitely the world is very small. We can catch up once again and we can discuss more about Django Web Application Framework. Now, to start with, Django basically has a MVT pattern. MVT pattern. Now, let me open one tutorial which will be very handy for you. I am going to share that particular Django tutorial to you today after the end of the session, as I am doing every day. Django tutorial. Let me just open the Django tutorial file. Okay, this is a simple Django tutorial, and today I am going to share you one more Django document which is more than 1,000 pages, I think. Now you can imagine it's not a tutorial, the Django official document released by the Python community group. It has more than 800 to 1,000 pages. That itself will tell you how many methodologies or functionalities are available in Django. Now to start Django, right, first you need to create a project. To create, see, directly you cannot run start your application like Flask. Flask will allow you to directly write your logic, the Python program, application.py or x.py something, and HTML files. But Django, to start any web application, you need to create a project. You need to create a project. Django admin start project, for example, CAET project. That is the command. CAET project is the project that I am going to create now in Django. Now, I forgot to mention, I think yesterday itself I told, to use Django, you need to install Django library. It does not come by default. It does not come by default. Now, you can clearly see Django-admin start project, CAET project is successfully executed. But there is no output. There is no output. Why? Because it simply starts a project. If you really want to see, type dir. You can observe that today on 31st May at 4:15, my time is 4:15 now in my laptop. A CAET project directory has been created. So when you are actually starting a project, it creates a directory with the name of the project. With the name of the project. That is the first step. In Django, the start project has created a directory. successfully created a directory with the name of the project. With the name of the project. Now Django comes by default with SQLite also. You can actually start. There is one more database which is called as SQLite. SQLite, like MySQL, like Oracle, like MongoDB, like Postgres. There is a by default database which comes with Python, Django. That is SQLite. One second. By mistake, I have created a directory with the name of the project. Now, what will be there inside the project? Let us see. Now, everybody, you can understand that inside the CIET project directory, there is a subdirectory with the same name. There is a subdirectory with the same name. I have not created. It's an outcome of the Django admin start project. It's an outcome of the. So in this particular directory, there are two more items. One is a subdirectory. So inside the project directory, there is a subdirectory with the same name. With the same name. And there is a default, or there is a default, or you can say there is a Python program or manage.py which is created by default during the project creation. Everybody understood? There is a file called as manage.py. I didn't do anything. I didn't create manage.py, but it comes automatically. So that is why I told Django follows a systematic pattern called as MVT. I'm going to explain you that. Now, what will be there in manage.py and what exactly is manage.py? What is there in the subdirectory with the same name of the project? That is the question. And what is manage.py? To understand these two questions, first let us go into the subdirectory of the same project name. Okay, then I will explain you what is the subdirectory CIET project contains, and then I will tell you what is manage.py. Or let me do one thing, because we are in the screen, let me answer about manage.py. Manage.py is the main program through which the entire web application is controlled. I have not created the web application yet, but when you start the project, inside the project, you need to create an application basically. So manage.py manages all the applications. You can also say manage.py manages all the web applications that are being developed in the project directory. In the project. So basically, a project can have one web application or many web applications. I can say a project can have one web app or multiple web apps. The single point of control is manage.py. It not only manages or a web app is started through manage.py only. You cannot directly launch any web app without manage.py. So manage.py is very, very essential. And it is created by default. No need to change any lines for starting the application. No need to update manage.py to run the web apps. So through manage.py only we are going to execute the web applications. Now, if you really want to know what exactly will be there in web app, manage.py, npp manage.py. See, this is how it is there by default. It is there by default. So no need for you to change anything. No need to change anything. You can also see clearly that the project name is mentioned here. Okay. So let us go to the subdirectory of CIET. So inside CIET project, there is a subdirectory with the same name. Now you can see clearly there are some files. Okay. In this, I would like to explain exclusively two files. Okay. So the first one is settings.py, which is very important, and urls.py. So other things, when you learn more about Django, I think that is the best suitable thing. To start a simple web application, you need to understand these two files, that is settings.py and urls.py. So let me highlight. In the subdirectory of the project, you need to understand, you need to understand all others also, but to start as a foundational course, right? Settings.py will have all the configuration settings, or you can also say settings.py is the, or will have settings for the web app configurations. What configurations? Like the database to get, or the database details, or host which is allowed to launch the web app, the web apps names in the project, etc. will be, or etc. settings, or etc. settings can be configured in settings.py. So I am going to show you what exactly will be there in the settings.py. Then urls.py. The name itself says URLs. That means the HTML file that your logic needs to be called will be available in urls.py will contain the templates that needs to be rendered. I'm going to show you settings.py and urls.py how exactly it looks like and what needs to be modified. Okay. Now, this is about 3 main Python programs which are created by default: manage.py, settings.py, urls.py. Okay. Now, let us go ahead. This is only from the project creation. This is from the project creation. We have not created any application. We have not created any application. So, come one level above, that means stay in the project directory, not the project subdirectory. Everybody please listen where the manage.py is there. Okay. Now you can say Django -admin start app, for example, my CIET app. See, Django-admin start project created a project. Inside the project directory, if you execute a command, Django-admin start app, my CIET app, that means inside the CIET project, I am creating one web application called as my CIET app. Now, you can clearly see that now the time is 4:28 in my machine. On 31st May at 4:28, a directory has been created with the name My CIET app in the main project directory. In the main project directory. I hope you are able to follow me, and in case if you have any doubt, please let me know. I am explaining you in a very low pace so that everybody will understand the basic concepts of Django for creating a simple web application. See, the length of the process is little bigger when compared to a simple web service using Flask. But do not get worried that, okay, the lengthy process is there, so Django is difficult. Django is not difficult. Django gives a systematic way of doing things. Okay, purposefully made on MVT pattern. Okay, till now, I didn't talk about MVT inside the project and application, right? I'm going to show you now. So, created application or web application, web app named my CIET app. Okay. Now, what will be there inside it? What will be there inside it? Let us see that. Every Python Django web application, listen, every Python Django web application will follow model view template pattern. Somebody says my voice is not audible. Am I not audible? Every time this participant Realme C2 has some voice issues, I think. Am I not audible? It's audible. I think Realme C2, you please check your connection. Yeah, thank you, other participants. Let us go to my CIET app directory, which is created after creating the web application inside the project. Clearly, you can see models.py, views.py, apps.py, admin.py, right? Here, to start with, you need to mainly focus on models.py and views.py. What exactly is there in models.py? As I told you, every Python Django application Every Python Django web app follows MVT pattern. So model is written in models.py. View is by default written in views.py by default. In which you need to write your logic. You can also have multiple Python files for your logic implementation. The first file is views.py. In models.py, you need to mention about the database tables information. You need to mention about the database tables information. Here, what is missing? Templates is missing. Correct? Templates is missing. Django does not create the templates directory by default. We need to create it. We need to create it in the web app directory. We need to create in the web app directory. For example, you know how to create a directory, right? It's very simple also. MD or mkdir templates. Why it has not created is, by default, people will have different templates in terms of HTML files. Now you see the template directory is created by me. Now you can have the templates after creating the template directory. Now, if you want to create any simple web service or a complex web service, right, from a web application, you need to change settings.py, urls.py, models.py, views.py, and then define your HTMLs. So what I mean to say is, for a simple web service or for a complex, or you can say for a simple web app, or for a complex web app, the following files needs to be modified. What are those? Settings.py, urls.py, settings.py, urls.py. Then you need to change views.py. In case if you have any database table, some web application does not require a database. For example, if you want to display some message on the screen, absolutely there is no need for any database, right? Some needs database. So in those cases, you need to update. Only in case of DB tables in the web app. Then you need to create HTML files in templates directory. Even to display a small message, like yesterday we displayed a message on a browser, all these files has to be changed. So don't worry about the procedure which is lengthy in nature. in a Django simple web application development, but you will really enjoy once you are practicing, right? You will really enjoy the what is the capability of Django web application framework. My students at NIT Nagaland has created a Django web application for attendance management in NIT Nagaland. They have even created a website for a techno-cultural fest called as Akarithin using Django. So, and there are simple to complex applications that even industry is also looking for expertise in Django, which will be an add-on benefit to you. Now, I cannot say if you know Django, you are going to get a job. But what I mean to say is, you need to be updated always. If you are very strong in C language, that itself can fetch you a job. If you are very good in Python, that itself can fetch you a job. For that matter, if you have a very strong C++ knowledge, one of my friend is still working for more than 15 years in only C++ based projects only. And I have some students who are passed out from NIT Nagaland who are working only on C language. And I have my friends who are working on Python. So what I mean to say is, you choose according to your comfort level which programming language you want to work upon. Then you can get more experience by working on that particular programming. It is good to have an idea about everything, but at the same time, you should focus now itself in the final year in such a way that you give the best chance based on your strengths. Some people are very good in writing queries and managing the database. Then you can go to a database administrator career. Okay. So these are small tips that I just want to tell you. Now, instead of updating everything now in front of you, I will take a simple project which I have already created, and I will show you what exactly settings.py will have, what URLs py will have, what views.py will have. I'm not going to show you the models.py because I would like to start the topics of data handling using Python as well in this session, right? Provided some other opportunities were given to me, we can again meet once again with the specialized concepts using Python, right? Now, there is a project called as display message. Display message is a project. See, just for displaying message, there is no need for a web service, but in case I just want to show you how to update the files inside the display message. There is manage.py and there is an application called as my message. Okay, and obviously there will be a subdirectory with the same project name. Let us first go into it. Here you will have settings.py and url.py. So let me open settings.py. This file will be huge, but do not worry about all those things. But the main important things, allowed hosts in line number 28. Here I gave the IP address, which is a static IP from my faculty chamber. Let me check my IP. I think, yes, 192.168.43. So I can give 192.168.43.233. This is the IP which is allowed to launch the web application. That's what allowed host is all about. In settings.py, the first important thing that you can change is allowed host. By default, it will not have anything. You can update it. You can update it. The next thing is in the installed apps list. This is a list. By default, it will come. You need to add your app here. By default, There are some admin content type session message static files. Those are by default. What you need to add is add your web app name here in the settings.py. That means you are saying the Django framework that, boss, I am having an application called as my message. If you don't mention here, then you cannot start the application. You cannot start the web application in Django. Now, let us see some more basic things in settings.py. By default, it is saying the root URL configuration is display message is the project name .urls. That means the URL.py basically. So no need to change anything. No need to change anything. Then, in case if you want to give your database information, then you need to update here. By default, it gives SQLite 3. You go to the Django tutorial, which I am going to share with you. You can add your DB server details. It can be MySQL, can be Oracle, can be MongoDB, whatever database server you are using. It can be Postgres, etc. You need to give here. At this point of time, I am not going to add any database for a simple display message service. So I am leaving it as the default one. And then, like, you don't worry about all other things for the basic web application. Okay. Then settings.py is over. Manage.py, we will not change anything. What else is there? urls.py. In urls.py, you need to add by default 16 and 17. Till here it will come. What you need to add is you need to mention the logic where you have written. For example, line number 18 is the one which I have added earlier. So let me highlight. These two things are added by me. What are these two things? Let me tell you. I have added this line for a small web service to display the message on the web browser. What is line number 18? We need to also know what is line number 18 here. Line number 18 is in line 18, we could notice that my message is the web app in which there is views.py. That's what we are saying. Import my message.views as my view. So basically, what is my message? My message is a web app. Views is the views.py. Whenever you are importing, there is no need to write .py. You know, import random, import CSV, import OS. Basically, they are all Python files. Now, what else is written? line number 22. Line 22 is also added by me. What is it saying? Display tag in the URL, if it is mentioned in the web browser, will call the display message method. From views.py. See, basically, this is like app.root. In Flask, we used app.root, right? I think you might have remembered app.root. App.root is basically a decorator function for routing different URLs. So if you have 10 URLs, you need to add the path in this manner from line number 22 onwards. You need to add the URL. So in the URL, if I mention display slash, you know what is your URL? When you are running the web application, you will get one basic IP address and port number /display. If you give that particular tag, then inside the my view, display message method will be called. That's what the meaning is. Okay. In settings.py, you have the configurations of host name, database, etc. Application name. Now in urls.py, you have to import the main logic, that is views.py, and then you need to give all the URL routings. If you call a tag, what method has to be called? You need to give in the path of the URL patterns here. And that admin comes by default. In line number 21, you see admin /, that is by default. That is your admin root admin user of your web application. Every web application will have an admin user. You know what is an administrator? As a web application, when it is launched, there will be an administrator who controls everything, right? To launch the administrator or to log in to administrator, you need to give the URL admin /, which is by default. Which is by default. Now I explained you what shall be there in settings.py and what shall be there in urls.py. Now let me go to the directory where the project is created and let me go to the application my message. You can clearly see in my message models.py, I am not touching anything because I am not going to use any database here. Views.py and templates. Let me show you views.py. What is written in views.py? It's very simple. Only one method is there. See, views.py, when it is created by default, it comes in this manner. 5 lines will come. I have added this line. What does it say? The render function actually combines a given template with a given context dictionary and returns a HTTP response object with that render text. It is very simple. Whenever you are executing whenever the web application is deployed, when you are giving the URL with the display /, it goes to the urls.py, picks the display message method and calls the display message method. For example, if you really want to know, let me show you urls.py here, side by side. Everybody please observe clearly. In urls.py, whenever you give a URL display /tag, then my view.display message. So what exactly it does is, when you launch the application and give this particular tag, okay, let me show. After starting the web app, when user gives the URL tag display, then it calls the method. Which method? Display message method in views.py. In views.py. So from this will be called. And here what it is going on? It says, boss, you go to display message.html. You go to display message.html. So the display message.html will automatically get displayed for you on the web browser. Now, oh, my sharing is stopped by mistake. Let me share again. Let me close the views.py and urls.py. Right? Now let us see what is there in the templates directory. In templates directory, you have display message.html. It says a simple message. This is a message from Django My Message web application. So let me tell you the final concept how the web application is being launched. After creating the project and web app and updating the settings.py, urls.py, views.py, and also after creating the HTML file, after doing all these things, you can start the web application from or through manage.py. How can we start manage.py? It is by the command py manage.py, right? Manage.py, manage.py, run server. If you give this command, manage.py run server, it will start the web app, will start the web app. So let us do that. How to start our web application, which is a simple application for displaying a message. For displaying a message. Let me clear the drawings, and all these information is available in the Django tutorial, which I am going to share with you. And many more concepts will be there in the tutorial. And I am also going to share you the Django document released by Python community group. Okay. So you can clearly see that how to create a project, the project structure, everything is mentioned. I already explained everything to you. Okay. 1 second. You can see either Python manage.py or py manage.py run server will actually start the web application, as I already told you. So let us start the come to the project where the manage.py is there, py manage.py run server. py manage.py run server. I have given my IP address in settings.py 192.168, right? But it is not running in that particular. Clearly you can see that it has started. The command to start the web application is python manage.py or py manage.py. One second, let me just try to annotate and show you. Starts my web app, the highlighted command starts my web app by default in the local host and 8000 port. Take a couple of minutes break and I will continue. And I will explain you what is 8000, why it is local host, how to start in a particular IP Yeah. So shall we resume the session? You can see clearly when I give manage.py run server, it has started my web application by default in the local host, and the port here is 8000. The port here is 8000. Now let us go to that particular URL and try to give display tag, because display tag only is meant in our web application to display the message. So let me clear all the annotations. I hope everybody is with me. And let us open the web browser and check. http:// by default port of Django web application is 8000 and 5000 is for the Flask. Okay. Yeah, I understand now. The issue is it clearly said that because I added exclusively 192 dot something, so it is giving me an exception called as disallowed host. You can clearly see here, you may need to add 127.0.0.1 to allowed host. So don't worry, this is not a problem in the web application creation. Let me come back, and if I remove the allowed host and don't keep any IP, then by default localhost will come. 192.168.43.233:9090. I can give in this manner also. Now it will run on a particular IP address with a port. Now you can see to start. See, when you want to have in localhost, leave the allowed host as it is. Don't update any IP address there. If you keep IP address means either you go and add the local host there, or you run the server in a particular IP which you have given in the allowed host. Now let me come here and give http://192.168.43.233:9090/display. Now you can clearly see the web application is successfully being executed. Web application being successfully executed. Now, I would like to ask one question to the participants now. I have another 40 minutes of time. By 5:45, I will stop my session and there will be a closing formalities by the organizers. Now tell me, you want me to explain data handling using Python from the Pandas library, or you want me to explain one case study in Django? Whether I explain the case study or not, I am going to show to you. I am going to give you. Like yesterday, we used one small case study, right? Shall I explain you that case study, or you will learn when I give the files to you? I would like to start the data handling using Pandas library topic for the coming 40 minutes of time. Now I leave up to you. I will give a 1 minute time for the participants to respond. And let me take the measure. The first participant has responded, data handling using Pandas. Anyways, web application, even if I explain the case study, it will not be a complete exhaustive code walkthrough, because web application needs time to practice. I just showed you how to create a simple web application. What are the files important and what you need to change. Okay, so I will wait for maximum 1 minute, and then most likely I think data handling using pandas. Yes, 2 of the participants responded data handling. Yes, I think everybody is interested in data handling using pandas. So the poll is over. Let us start data handling using pandas library. Okay. So for that, let me go to data handling and data visualization. So don't worry about the directories. See, usually I take a 10 hours workshop on foundations of data science using Python. It's a separate session altogether. So from there, I am going to explain you some concepts. So don't worry about the directory structure here. Okay. What is a data science project? What is a data science project? And what exactly is the life cycle of data science? So to understand that, let me show you 1 or 2 slides. I will not explain everything because giving introduction to data science itself need more than 1 hour. Okay, but because we want to know data handling using pandas, what exactly is this data handling and where it comes into picture. Okay, so let me go to some of the workshops which I have conducted, and I am not going to show you all the slides. Okay, if I want, I can give you what is the benefit of learning data science, what kind of job roles are there. Okay, I am just opening this slide deck to give you a 5 minutes introduction about where this data handling comes into picture, where the data handling comes into picture. So basically, a machine learning or artificial intelligence or data analytics are coming under the umbrella of data science. In data science, you will have machine learning, you can have AI, you can have deep net learning, neural networks, everything. Data science is a common domain now for all these things. Basically, what is a data science? It's about study of data, concentrating on the data analysis part to take some decisions. Basically, data science is a process of deriving knowledge to gain in-depth insights about diverse set of data. So whether you are working on a machine learning algorithm or an AI algorithm or whatever algorithm you are working on, your project in the final year, basically you deal with data. You deal with data, right? So let us not go to all the slide decks, but I will show you one of the slide here. So the basic workflow of any data science project is you need to get the data, basically collect the data, then you need to pre-process the data. What is pre-processing? It can be changing the time zones. For example, you are collecting a data of Amazon customers from India and US. Now Indian timing is different, US timing is different. But when you are bringing both the data together, there will be time zone differences between the data. Then you need to convert the time zones into a common time zone. So that is also called as a data pre-processing technique. Or sometimes some values will be missing. Then you need to handle missing values. For example, you have a student database with the CGPA. I think I have taken a data fabrication concept case study, right? In file management of text file, CSV file and database connectivity, I have taken one case study. Let us imagine the same case study. In some of the CGPA column, the values are missing. What is missing value in CGPA denote, there can be two things. Everybody knows that in case if anybody fails in a semester subject or multiple subjects, there is no CGPA for that person. Why? Even though if you calculate CGPA, that is not the correct CGPA because he has failed in subjects. So only when those subjects are cleared, the correct CGPA will be reflected in his database of that particular student. So in such case, CGPA will be missing. Now, suppose the Chalapati College is passing the data of the final year to a HR manager. For example, Wipro or TCS is coming for a campus placement. So to that particular HR manager, your TNP coordinator will send a data. Imagine the CGPA is missing. Then what does it mean? That means that they are asking, send me all the data of the students. Then what to do? I cannot omit that record because that person is a student of mine. Then what I will do? I am telling you a small example. I will remove the CGPA and send. Then the TCS or Wipro, whatever HR manager, he will understand, okay, in this data, CGPA is missing means there is 1 or 2 error. Now, it's up to that particular HR manager whether to give permission to a student who has only 1 error so that he can clear. Sometimes when I am studying my MTech, in the year 2007, I was in the end of first year MTech where all the campus placements have started. During that time, I don't want to mention the company names for the interest of all the people. Some of the companies used to tell, it's okay. 1 area is available, 1 area is there, I will allow. 2 areas is there, I will allow. Okay, it's up to the HR manager and the policies. So in such kind of scenarios, you need to handle the missing data. Like whether to delete the record. Why to delete the record? I don't want to consider, so I will delete. Or whether to consider that record. Okay, so data pre-processing, basically managing the data, cleaning the data is a process of handling missing values. There can be time zone differences, or imagine you are executing one algorithm in machine learning. Okay, k-nearest neighbors or etc. Any algorithm. The algorithm is expecting the data to be in the range of 0 to 1. Imagine an algorithm is expecting the data will be in the range of 0 to 1, but the data set has different values. Then you need to scale the data to bring the data within the range of 0 to 1. That is also an example of data pre-processing. So all those things are done after capturing the data. So the first step in any data science domain project is getting the data, that means collecting the data, then data pre-processing. Data pre-processing means handling the missing values, scaling the data, or other pre-processing techniques. Then your actual data exploration will start. What is data exploration? I will tell you one simple example. Imagine there is a diabetic data set. Imagine there is a diabetic data set. The parameters available in that particular data set may not be very much appropriate for the algorithm. For example, the height of a person may not be very much relevant with respect to the diabetic conditions of the patient, whereas the weight of the patient may have, or the blood sugar contents, the insulin level has a major contribution towards deciding whether the patient is diabetic or not. So data exploration means extracting the key features from the data, and then finally you are going to write your data model, your algorithms, and then data visualization will come into picture. Why I am explaining this theoretical part with you? Why? Because data handling comes from all these steps. Data handling comes from collecting the data, pre-processing the data, extracting the features, and finally, data visualization is the outcome of the data science project. What you want to show to the end user. Now, let us try to understand data handling using pandas. And I need to explain you what is pandas. I need to explain you what is pandas. Pandas is an exclusive library for data handling and data analysis in Python. It's a library. It's a library. Okay. This library is not a default library. It has to be installed exclusively. How to install? You know, pip install pandas. That's all. How data is handled in pandas? That's the next question. That's the next question. One-dimensional data is handled in pandas using a data structure called as series. So basically, pandas has three different data structures. Okay, one is called as series. Second one is a two-dimensional. Now, what is series? Series also supports homogeneous data. Or you can simply say similar type of data. Handles similar type of data. Homogeneous data. Okay. Then the next one is two-dimensional data, which is very famous, and I am going to explain for another 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes of time by showing some hands-on. Okay. What is a data frame? Data frame is a data structure to represent the data in a two-dimensional structure, that is in terms of rows and columns. In terms of rows and columns, and handles different data type or different types of data at a time. Then the next one is panel. The next one is panel, which handles three-dimensional data. It's called as panel. Now, let us understand data frame now. Okay, let us understand data frame creation using Python hands-on. Okay. Some of the participants are posting something, I don't know. Somebody is posting their Instagrams. I'm not sure whether it is belonging to this particular session or not. Anyways, how to create a data frame? How to create a data frame? Okay. To do that, let me open a file called as understandpandas.py. You don't worry about the length of the program. Okay. The length of the program is nothing but there are different concepts that I have written in a single program. I will explain one by one. It's very easy. It's very easy to understand. Okay. Now, exactly I have 23 minutes of time. So please pay attention. By 5:45, I will definitely stop, and we can also learn in the coming days, right? When chances are provided to us, we can meet at any point of time later on. Okay, the first line is import pandas. So there is no need to explain this line because whenever you want to use the library pandas, you need to import it. Inside the pandas, there is a method which you can see, that is data frame. Okay, D capital, F capital, right? So when you call pandas.data frame, it creates a data frame. It creates a data frame. I'm not giving any data. I'm just creating an empty data frame. I'm creating a empty data frame. Now let us execute and check what exactly is a data frame. There is no data right now. There is no data right now. It may take little while because pandas library has to be, yeah. Now you can clearly see we could create a empty data frame. Columns, nothing. Index means row. Index means row. Row is called as index in Python data frame. So this is a simple data frame which we will not understand anything. When it is empty, what we will learn from this? But I just want to show you how to create an empty data frame. Now, let us create a data frame with a list of items. Slowly, I will increase the complexity. I will show you how to create a data frame from the CSV file as well. We created a CSV file, no, with 6,000 students data. I am going to show you today how to create a data frame from a CSV file also. Okay, but to start with, let us create a data frame from a list. It's very simple. Define a list and pass the list in the data frame. Pass the list in the data frame. Okay. Now, I hope everybody understood the line of code in line number 12 and 13. That is, my list data is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a list. Now I am creating the data frame with my list data as an argument. Now it will create 5 rows of data with one column, each row having one item, 1 in the first row, 2 in the second row, and etc. Let me execute the program. You can clearly see now that the data frame has, even though you are giving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it looks like one dimension. It looks like one dimension, but data frame supports 2 dimension here. When you give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it actually treated it as 5 rows and 1 column. And you can clearly see there are some zeros mentioned here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the row index, and the 0 here is the column index. So this is a simple data frame created from a list. Now, let me comment this, creating a data frame from a list, and uncomment another segment of code, that is creating a data frame from a list of lists. List of lists. So here what I am doing, I am taking a my list data with a sublist Nishchal 8 and Nihal 6. So these are my kids' names, Nishchal and Nihal, and their ages. And you have some of my colleagues and their children names are given here. Okay, fine. Now Nishchal, Nihal, Nihan, and Dian are the data with their respective ages. Now, after creating the data frame, everybody please observe, I am passing my list data, comma, columns equal to, what is columns equal to? Labeling the columns. I don't want the column labels shall be 0 and 1, but rather I want a label called as name and age. Now, if I execute this particular code, you can clearly see that the list of lists is also created a data frame. Okay, now you can see name and age are the column labels. They are the column labels. Now, let us comment it out and let us go to the next topic, that is creating a data frame from a dictionary. So don't worry about the comments. You just concentrate only in the lines 29 to 34. 29 to 34. Okay. Now, I am defining a dictionary. For example, name is the key and the kids' names. And then now my kids are AS1. Everybody has grown up. So let me, okay. Now, you can create a data frame from a dictionary. Simply define a dictionary and call data frame with the dictionary. Okay. Now, if I execute this program, you can see, and by default, the keys are the column labels in a dictionary. If you are giving a list, you need to customize your label for the columns. But in terms of a data frame which is created from a dictionary, you can actually get the keys as the column labels. You can clearly see the first two things are, I just type the type of the data frame and the dictionary data. The first line number 31 is giving me a dictionary object, and line number 33 is giving me from where the data frame is coming. Inside the pandas core frame, there is a class data frame. From there it is coming. Okay. Now, can I change the, if you can see, the rows are still indexed with 0, 1, 2, 3 numbers. Rows are 0, 1, 2, 3. Where it is, I am mentioning here. In case if you want to label your own rows, customize the row labels, then you need to write this piece of code. See, I might go a little bit fast here because it is a simple example and I am just trying to introduce more about the real-time data sets. Okay, these examples are to understand what is a data frame and how a data frame looks like. Now here I am defining a dictionary with some names like Durgesh, Indrasen, Chandan Pandey and Premchand and some CGPA. After that, I am passing index equal to, when you are passing the dictionary data with index equal to rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, they are serving as the labels for that particular rows. They are serving as label for the rows. Okay, let me execute the file. Then we will see how to create a data frame from a CSV file. Now you can clearly see that, oh, I didn't save the file. That's why the old output is coming. Let me execute again. You can clearly see rank 1, 2, 3, 4 labels. Now this is how you create a data frame in a simple terms with an empty data frame, list, list of list, dictionary, and a dictionary with our own customized labels for each row. Now, imagine I am taking one old data set here. Okay, there is a data set. Let me open and show you what exactly is there. This particular CSV file has the same data set which I use. No, you have 100 students data here. There is 100 or 5,000 does not matter, right? This particular data set has 100 students data. 100 students data. Okay. Now, can I create a data frame from this particular CSV file? In case if I can create, how to create? That's what I want to show you. And you can see there is one Excel file also. There is one Excel file. What is that Excel file? Don't worry about the name of the colleges. These are the colleges which I have taken workshops earlier. Okay, clearly you can see even this Excel sheet is also prepared by me. It is not taken from anybody. It's actually created by me. This Excel sheet has 2 semesters, semester 1, semester 2. In semester 1, maths, science, social, and there are 200 records. In semester 2, again there are 200 records. So basically, this Excel file has 200 students data in semester 1 and also semester 2. Don't check, sir, in semester 2, why English, Hindi, Sanskrit is there? It is just a fabricated data. Okay, you can also give your own subject names. Now, by making use of this Excel file and also making use of the CSV, I will show you how to create a data frame from a CSV file or an Excel file. Suppose you may have a doubt. Why should we do this? Why should we understand this? Why? Because when you are implementing a project in your BTech or when you are going to a job, in case if you want to have a Python based implementation, most likely people are using Python now. So this particular code will give you an idea how to create a data frame from a CSV and also an Excel sheet. Now, let me open a file called as create data frame from CSV file. Create data frame from CSV file. Okay. You don't worry about the length of the program. Okay. You don't worry about the length of the program. Okay. Instead of showing this particular file to you, I thought it's always better to create our own file. Okay. Now, NPP load data frame from CSV dot Python. I am creating a new file for you so that you will really understand how easy it is to create a data frame. Import pandas. Everybody will know this. Now, if you want your, for example, my data frame is equal to pandas dot. If you are giving in this manner, it will create a data frame, but I want a data frame from a CSV file. So there is a method in pandas called as read underscore CSV. Read CSV method will actually go get the CSV file. Either you can give a HTTP link also, then it will go collect from the internet and give. I will show you that also. Now you can give the CSV file name. What is the CSV file name? dir star.csv. It is Loyola Academy data set. Okay, so let me give that. Oh, sorry, it's fine. Loyola Academy.csv. Now, SEP means separator. equal to comma. You know what is a comma? Comma is a delimiter. SCP equal to comma is how you need to give a delimiter. Suppose if this particular CSV has hyphen as a delimiter, then you need to give SCP equal to hyphen. In case if it has colon, then you need to give colon. Sometimes data sets will have semicolon. I will show you one data set now in real time, which has a semicolon. Then you need to mention that. In case if there is comma, either you give or not, it will work out. So SEP equal to is compulsory required only in case if the delimiter is not comma. Let me keep it SCP equal to comma. Okay, to show you how to create. That's all. This particular line will load the CSV in terms of a data frame. Only one line. Only one line. Okay. Now you may get a doubt, sir. Earlier you opened a file, it has so many lines. See, I have written whether this CSV file is available or not. If it is available, then only load the data set. Otherwise, so there are so many logic which is written. Okay. So let me print my data frame. Let me print my data frame. In the three lines, you can clearly see only one line is the logic for creating the data frame. Rest two lines are importing and displaying the output. Load data frame from CSV. Now you can clearly see that it is displaying registration number, student name, after the dot came. Why? Because the font of my command prompt is not allowing it to display everything. So dots came here. Similarly, it will display whenever you are displaying the data frame, it displays the first 5 rows and the last 5 rows. Clearly you can see there are 100 rows and 7 columns in this particular data frame. It's very simple, right? Now, in case if you have any doubt, you can change the font size, and then if I execute again, then you can see all the data being displayed. So it didn't display all the data, right? 1 second. Let me just execute again. Now you will see, because I minimized the window, it could not fit. Now you can clearly see all the columns are mentioned. Okay. So let me increase the font size so that everybody will see properly. Now, if you want to display the first print my data frame, okay, dot head. I want the first 20 records. Then you can give dot head method from the database, sorry, my data frame object. Then it will display the first 20 rows. It will display the first 20 rows in the data set. Let me show you. I think it is better to decrease the font size so that you can really observe everything clearly. Yeah. It displays the first 20. You can clearly see from index 0 to 19, all the 20 records are being displayed. Okay. Now, there is an attribute for my data frame, that is shape. Shape is not an object, it's just an attribute. My data frame dot shape. It gives the number of rows and columns available in the data set. You can clearly see a tuple will be displayed 100 comma 7. What is 100? 100 rows and 7 is 7 columns. So shape gives me the size of the data set, basically data frame, in terms of a data frame. One of the participant is asking, Seshagiri Somepalli, sir, if possible, can you please show this by using Jupyter Notebook or using Google Colab such that we can see how exactly a data frame looks. Whether it is a command prompt or whether it is a Jupyter or Colab, data frame exactly looks like this only. A data frame is a tabular structure of rows and columns. It exactly is this only. Data frame looks exactly like this only. In Jupyter, it will not be visible in something else. In Colab, it will. The structure is a tabular structure. That's all in terms of rows and columns. In terms of rows and columns. Now, let me show you how to create a data frame from an Excel file. How to create a data frame from a Excel file. Okay. So for that, what we need to do is we need to call a method called as read underscore excel, like read underscore csv loaded the data frame from the. Okay, I think we are running out of time, so I have only 1 minute. So let me not go to the Excel. Let me only show you, for example, in the same npp load data frame. Okay, so let us take on some other time about the. Everybody, please observe. I would like to extract only the CGPA column. I would like to extract only CGPA column. So what I can do is my data frame student underscore CGPA. Then only the CGPA will come. You can extract a particular column also instead of all the columns. Okay, I will take. Oh, by mistake, I gave a wrong parenthesis in a wrong place. So I'll take maximum couple of minutes. Organizers, give me only 2 minutes more. Now you can clearly see.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
10 minutes padutunda?
No, sir. 2 minutes, sir. 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Now you can clearly see it has extracted the student CGPA only. Student CGPA only. In this manner, you can actually extract and you can do much more things in data handling using pandas. This is only the creation part. You can also do lot of data pre-processing techniques. You can actually handle the missing values, right? Now, I would like to show you one more method. The final method is describe method. Everybody see, for the same student CGPA, I am giving a method called as describe. I am giving a method called as describe. Let me check what will be the output. Now clearly you can see from the available CGPA. Let me just try to annotate for the last time in this particular workshop. Okay, here we are getting the default analysis of CGPA, that is the average CGPA. The average CGPA is 7.40. Minimum CGPA is 5.05 and the maximum is, and you can see all the quartiles. What is the first quartile? What is the second quartile? What is the third quartile? Everything. We can get Q1 or minimum 25%, 50%, 75%. What is this? All the quartiles information also. So in this manner, we can actually start the concepts of data handling using pandas. See, whatever the available amount of time, I have considered to the best of my knowledge, and that's it. I am stopping my sharing. Now I would like to just tell one important information here, that is, I planned a schedule for covering some more topics, like one of the case study which I could not handle because when the participants are asking me doubts, so I felt that I need to explain the doubts. So one or two topics are missing from my schedule. So you don't worry, how many topics that we are learning is not important, but the depth in which we are learning will give you a good path for all the participants. Finally, I would like to tell thanks to Uday Kiran sir and the other organizers like Dr. Kiran sir, and also the chairman sir, the principal sir, and all the people who are actually, I don't know whether to tell or not. I just want to tell you, your Chalapati group of institutions management is so concerned about the students that they actually requested me to even start the short-term training program from May 10th. Why? Because I can see the intensity in the chairman sir's discussion and the organizers also. Sir, we want our students to get ready for the campus selections. So I don't know whether I have done a good justification or not. Now I would like to hand over the session to the organizers. Over to the organizers and the participants. I will be very happy if some of the participants share their feedback in the session. Thank you, everybody. I am going to share the notes to you. And over to the organizers now.
Thank you very much, sir. It's a long journey.